2001 Toyota RAV4, and we've got some issues with our power steering. The owner's complaint is that the steering feels really wobbly or unresponsive. It sounds like we've got an issue with the power steering rack mount bushings. Let's get in here, take a look, and see if we can figure this out. Hey, what's up YouTube? Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change your power steering rack in a 2001 Toyota RAV4. Now the steering has become very unresponsive, very loose, and it looks like our bushings are completely worn out. So let's jump on in here. I'm going to show you the easiest way to change this out. All right, now before we do anything, I'm going to put the seat belt here through the steering wheel, and I'm going to lock this in place to prevent that wheel from turning while we're doing this. You can also use the steering wheel lock, but I just want to make sure that this does not turn. Make sure that that is straight, the wheels are straight, and then I'm going to slide the seat back, making sure that the steering wheel locks, and so that's not going to move around on us. All right, now we need to take out the cotter pin here and the tie rod end. We're going to separate both of the tie rod ends here from the knuckle. All right, we can break this loose. It's a 17mm socket here. Not going to take that off all the way just yet. Now I'm also going to loosen this jam nut here as well. It's just easier to do while it's still on the vehicle. For that you need a 19mm wrench to hold the tie rod end and a 22mm open end wrench to break that loose. You can also use a large adjustable wrench if you don't have something like this. Now in order to separate the tie rod end here from the knuckle, now don't make the mistake of hammering on this with or without the nut on there, because you can mushroom that pretty bad and mess up the threads. Usually a few hits right here on the end will break the taper, and that should do the job for us. We got it. Take off the nut here and just thread it back on so we don't lose it. All right, same with this side. Let's just pull out this cotter pin here. There we go. I'm going to use this tool here on this side. Just going to tighten this down until it pops it loose. That's it. Now I like to keep the nut on there so that when that does pop, it doesn't go flying up and hit you in the hand. All right, now we're going to take off the two bolts that mount the lines to the rack. This one right here, and then the other one is right on the other side over here. So we can loosen and remove both of these. And this is just kind of stuck to that, but you can see now that lower one is free. Same with this one up here. These lines are now free from the rack. Now we need to take out these mounting bolts here. There's one right here, and the other one's right here. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here, but I'm just going to use a 17mm socket here. And I have a 19mm wrench here on the other side, keeping the other side from spinning. If I could just zip this off real quick. All right, now I'm going to take off this passenger side bolt here, and I'm just going to use an extension and see if we can break this one loose. All right, I decided on the passenger side, I'm going to see if I can get this through the wheel well. So just got a long ratchet on here, and that looks like it worked. Looks like the nuts are welded on both sides. There we go. Now, some people said you had to loosen the sway bar in order to get this bolt out. I didn't have to loosen it at all. Okay, now we still have the lines connected, and we also need to go up and disconnect the steering shaft inside the vehicle. All right, now we're inside the vehicle. Just need to pull back this carpet a little bit so we can take out these two 10mm bolts. And then we can pull this little collar up a little bit. Okay, so it looks like our seal is actually leaking here too. Yeah, it's really wet in there. You see that? So that means that our main shaft seal was also leaking. Now there's a couple different ways to do this. You see right there is the main bolt that we need to get out. And this is just a rubber boot underneath. So I might be able to get to that from below, and I might even be able to do it from right up here. And what we also want to do is either loosen this one or the one up here, so that we can slide this up a little bit more. Let me show you. We can also maybe just loosen this one here so that we can pull this up or slide this away as we do it. I might just do that right now. Not going to take this out, just going to loosen it. You can see now it's moving. Okay, that's good. All right, it's moving pretty good, but I'm gonna go down below, see if we can pull up that boot and get that bolt out, because it looks like it's a little kind of crowded in here to get at it from above. Let's try it below first. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to pop this boot off. I don't know how tight this clamp is. This little rubber cover here, it's almost like a dust cover, but you see all this fluid now leaking out. That is because our input seal is leaking. Lots of fluid coming out here now. Now if I can push this up enough, I should be able to get to that bolt and take that off. All right, I'm gonna see if I can just peel this boot up, kind of pull it off the vehicle here, and push it up out of the way. We just need to get to this bolt right here. All right, there it is. Okay, let me bring you in a little bit closer real quick. Now, you see I've got a drain pan down here. We're gonna be taking these lines off next, but just wanted to get in here a little bit tighter and show you. That's what it looks like, and that right there is the bolt that has to come out. See this right here. So I'm just going to take that loose, and then we should be able to just push this up. It's lubed up really good from that power steering fluid that's been leaking. And then, of course, this clamp right here just kind of came off of this rubber boot. And that's okay. Let's just get this bolt off, and then should be able to separate this, and then we can take out the lines. This is a 12mm, just using this mountain flex head ratcheting wrench. All right, we got it. That should just pop up now. Yep. Just pushed up on the shaft here, and now that is loose. So right now it's just this rubber boot, and I'm kind of just pushing that out of the way as well. And there it is. Shaft is free from the steering linkage up above. All right, now I'm going to try to break loose these lines here. I'm using a flare nut crow's foot here on an extension with a long ratchet. There we go. And once you break them loose, they come out pretty easily. Remember, that's gonna leak a lot of fluid. Just make sure you got a good drain pan down below, which we do. Okay, let's see if we can break this one loose as well. They're both 17 millimeter, by the way. Okay, we got it. I'm just kind of tucking these lines back behind the sway bar, this back one, and then this one I'm going to put it up over here out of the way. As long as we're still catching that in the drain pan. Just going to let these drain out here for a minute, and then we're going to try to get this rack out of here. All right, well, the boot here just kind of came right off. Again, you can see that shaft seal was leaking pretty good. We'll set this out of the way. Now here's the part that we're really just kind of going to cross our fingers and hopefully this comes out. Now I might need to crawl underneath and help guide this. But you see how there's kind of this little cutout right here? That's where we're going to try to fit the shaft through. So I'm going to crawl underneath and see if we can get this done. Okay, I'm just going to push up on this a little bit to get it up out of these mounts. Okay, we got it started. Let me get back over here. Okay, I'm going to go around to the other side and push that. I think we're hung up a little bit. I'm going to pull off this clamp and set it out of the way as well. There it is, right there. Just watch the lines here and everything else as you're doing this. Now the key to get this out was I had to go underneath and push and kind of guide it past all the other mounts. The other side just keeps wanting to grab everything. There we go. And it's out. All right, so we've got the old one here next to the new one. We did go with a remanufactured this time. So it comes with some replacement O-rings that we need to put in. And of course we need to take out these plugs here too. But I noticed that our rack here is missing the bolt that squeezes that in place. So we need to take this one off on this one. Looks like just a 14 millimeter. And we're just going to transfer that over. Just kind of trying to line this up until it looks like it's straight with the other one. But we can always loosen that and adjust that if needed. Now I'm going to try to center the rack so that it matches this one. But before I do that, I'm going to take off this cap here. And of course, I'm also going to take off the tie rod ends here. I'm just going to transfer the jam nut over here as well. And I'm going to count the number of revolutions so that when I put this back on, it's going to be close as far as the alignment. So let's go ahead and just back this one off. Okay, about 14 or 14 and a half. All right, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. $13. Okay, almost 14 on this side as well. Now before I put these tie rod ends on, I'm just going to measure the distance here from the center point to the end to see if I can match this up and make sure that the rack is somewhat centered, or at least the same way that it was. Okay, on this side I'm going to measure here to this little centerpiece, 15¼ inches. On this one, we're 15 7/8. So this part is sticking out farther. Let's double check the other side as well. Same thing, just going to use a reference point. I'll just use this little fitting right here, put my tape measure right there. And here we're at 15 3/4. And on this one, we're at 15 exactly. So we do need to turn the remanufactured rack so that this sticks out more and of course turns in on the other side. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, now a pair of pliers or vice grips will work fine. I'm just gonna put a rag over the shaft here so we don't damage or scratch the shaft there. And I'm just gonna turn this. There you go. I can see it turn a little bit. So now let's double check. See if our measurements are any better on this side now. Remember here, we're 15 3/4 on the money. And on this one, okay, we're 15 5/8. I'm gonna go a little bit more. Okay, I think I went just a hair too far. I'm gonna bump this back a little bit. Just want to really get this as close as possible, but the alignment shop is still gonna have to double check everything here. All right, so that side looks good. We got 15 3/4 on both sides. Let's check this one now. Remember the old rack, 15 1/4. And here from that same reference point, there it is, 15 1/4. So that's lined up or somewhat centered the way that it was. Now let's go ahead and thread the tie rod ends back on. Okay, so we had about 14 revolutions or 14 turns on this side. So let's see if we can get this one started and do about the same thing. Let's go put on the other one. We were right about 14 on this side as well. Of course, we'll get that snug when we're done, but again, we don't really need to torque this jam nut because we're going to send this in for alignment once we're done. Now, we don't have to take these plugs out just yet. We can actually take those out once it's in the vehicle, so I'm going to leave it in. It makes a little bit less mess, but this is now ready to go back in the vehicle. Carefully feed this one through. Okay, I'm gonna go underneath now and try to carry this through, supporting it from below. There it is. Just take your time here because you don't want to hook up on anything else. And I'm just kind of gently setting it in the little mounts here, or little cradles. There it is. All right, well, I'm not sure how well all of that showed up. You know, I did have to maneuver the tie rod end on the other side a little bit, but you can see we've got it in the mounts on both sides now. And that's the hard part. So now we just need to hook everything back up and should be good to go. Okay, what I did on this little clamp that goes on the little rubber boot, I was actually able to unclick it or open it up a little bit. So I'm gonna be able to reuse that. But right now I'm just gonna put this over the shaft and set it down here on the rack. All right, now I'm gonna try to get the boot up here and get that started. Just trying to wiggle this boot in. Yeah, we're not gonna have a lot of room to work here, so I'm gonna go up above and see if I can slide the intermediate shaft down onto this and then get that bolt started and torqued, and then we'll worry about getting this boot back over it. Okay, so this should just slide back down onto that shaft. All right, I'm gonna go down underneath and see if we can push that the rest of the way on. Okay, well, it is on, not quite seated all the way. All right, the shaft is on. Just push that boot up a little bit more out of the way so we can get this bolt in here and get this started. You just don't want to force these, so just make sure you take your time, get that started. I'm gonna go grab a ratchet to get that in. Now the torque spec on this is 26 foot-pounds. If you can get a torque wrench in here. All right, I'm gonna try to get this boot back down now. See if we can maneuver that how it's supposed to go. And of course, we'll try to get this clamp on there too. Okay, we're getting pretty close. All right, there it is. Yeah, I just need to tuck this rubber piece all the way around. All right, for this rubber boot, I ended up coming in from the inside and just using my fingers, and you can feel the boot, and you're just pulling it. All right, I lost some of the audio here, but all I'm doing is using my fingers to pull that rubber boot onto this lip around the perimeter of this inside opening, and you can actually feel it with your finger when that rubber boot slips into place. And then I'm just going to drop this plastic cover on the inside down over the opening and put in the two 10mm bolts that hold it in place. All right, now we need to take out these little plugs here in the remanufactured rack so we can put in our lines. The package says to replace the O-rings, but there are no O-rings on these ones. These are just a little tapered fitting, so just carefully line these up. Do not cross thread them. Just take your time. Now the audio cut out at this part of the video, but this is just me getting these lines started by hand and getting them nice and snug. Now I just use the same flare nut crow's foot to get these snug down again using that extension. And then as far as the torque spec, I went with 32 foot-pounds. All right, we can get this main bolt in here. Get that started. Same with this one here. Just push up on that rack a little bit and push it in. And we'll get that threaded in. Just get it started by hand first. Now I need to torque this to 101 foot-pounds. There we go. Okay, we're probably getting pretty close. I'm gonna switch over to this 1/2-inch drive torque wrench. Oh, we got it. All right. That wasn't easy, but we got that. So these are both torqued to 101. I'm gonna crawl back underneath and put in the little brackets that mount the lines to the rack. All right, I'm gonna try to get this line at the top started here first. Kinda gotta wiggle this around. Yep. There we go. All right, now for this bottom one. There it is. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now this bolt up here, I just had it barely snug so that I could get this in and move it if I needed to, but it lined up easily, so let's just tighten this back down. That just sandwiches the grommet around this rack. Now we can go put the tie rod ends in and get everything torqued back to spec. I'll take off this castle nut. And push it through the hub right down here. You can change these tie rod ends out, but this one actually looks like it's pretty good. Now the torque spec that I found is 36 foot-pounds. Now you always want to use a new cotter pin. Just make sure that that will line up with one of the holes here. If it doesn't line up, you're going to need to turn it just a little bit more. Make sure you don't loosen it. Go ahead and tighten it. There we go. That looks good. I'll just bend that back around. Now we still need to get this aligned when we're done, but I'm just going to get this jam nut nice and snug so it's not going to back off on its own. But of course the alignment shop's going to be loosening that so that they can adjust this and fine tune it for us. All right, let's go around and do the other side. Okay, not quite there. Let's go ahead and tighten it a little bit more. There it is right there. Bend that around and we'll cut off the excess. Okay, that looks good. Now I didn't forget about the boot up here that goes over that steering shaft. I have an idea on how to get that squeezed on. You can see it's on there, but it's just not tightened yet. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Now what I did is I Tried to position this clamp after loosening it so that I could pinch this and squeeze it together and see if I can re-lock it in place. We got it. All right, we're gonna get this jam nut here snug as well. Just don't need that backing off or coming apart on the way to the alignment shop. All right, that's snug. All right, let's go fill it up, and then we're gonna turn the wheel side to side to try to get some of the air out before we start it. And then we'll get the wheels back on, put this on the ground, take it for a test drive and see how it does. All right, I'm just gonna fill this up with some ATF. Says that that's what we should be using. My funnel luckily looks like it's gonna stay in here. But before I start the vehicle, I'm gonna push the wheels side to side to get some of that air to get out. And we're gonna use the key to unlock this. Now I'm not starting it yet, but I'm just gonna turn lock to lock all the way to the left. Now all the way to the right. And we'll do that a couple times. Somebody commented on one of my videos that if you do this before you start it, it gets most of the air out. Looks like it all went down. Let's put some more in here. All right, let's go turn the wheel. Okay, I think we got most of the air out of there. Now I'm a little overfilled. I'm gonna suck out a little bit with this little syringe tool so we can get right to the height that we want to be at. That looks good right there. Let's just put this cap back on. Now we're gonna put the wheels on and we'll take it off the jack, we'll set it down, and then of course we'll take it for a quick test drive and check for any leaks. Alright, we're just gonna go for a quick little test drive and make sure that we don't have any issues. One thing I love about this is it has the most amazing turning radius. Check that out. Just trying to do some nice hard turns to get all the air out of the system here. We'll double check, top it off, make sure it's not leaking, and should be good to go. All right, well, we're back from a quick test drive, and it looks like we're still good on the fluid level here. And if we look down below here, doesn't look like we have any leaks or anything like that. I think we do have a little oil leak, but nothing coming from the power steering, which is great. Definitely feels a lot better. It's more responsive and it's handling just fine. Now it does pull a little bit to the right and the steering wheel's not straight, but of course the alignment shop can fix that up for us. Now the input shaft seal was leaking in addition to the bushings being worn out. These inner tie rods also feel very sloppy and very worn out, so I'm sure just the rack itself is worn out. It wasn't just the bushings, the rack as well. So I'm glad we didn't try to just take this out and replace those bushings. But that's pretty much it. It's a pretty quick and easy job. This did take me a few hours to get this done. Just take your time, make sure you get everything torqued to spec, and you should be good to go. But I hope you guys like this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. And of course, I'll get a link in the description to some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.